Okay, everybody, welcome to another edition of Newrez Voices. Super pumped today to have George Milian with us, one of our newest sales leaders for Newrez. And look, George is somebody that we've been tracking for a long time. Brings a ton of energy to our team, as well as just sales expertise and precision and kind of where we want to go. So, George, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here.
Very, very excited, like I say. And you and I have obviously been getting to know each other over the last several months, but for the audience here, whether that be team members, partners, or people that are looking at Newrez as a place to be, tell us a little bit about your background and kind of what brought you to Newrez as our channel leader for direct to consumer purchase.
Well, I spent about 18 and a half years with one of the largest lenders in the United States, and I took a little bit of time off back in April of last year. My wife and I decided it was time for us to make a huge change, which was moving from Michigan to having sunshine like 300 plus days a year to Naples, Florida. So we wanted to get some more sunshine intake, as I like to say. And, as I watched the industry and as I watched what was going on, I had that itch, that urge to get back in to lead from the front and help a company really like Newrez change the dynamic of what's happening in the industry and to paint a new picture, I would like to say.
Yeah. You talk about kind of the search and you've seen a lot over the years and talked to multiple companies about opportunities. From your perspective and looking at kind of the impact you want to make as a leader, what differentiated Newrez for you as kind of the place to be and where to lead from the front, as you say?
Well, I think one of the biggest things is when you look at the leadership team, when you look at the servicing book, and you look at the opportunity, I really think in the next 3 to 5 years, Newrez could be like the number one, number two overall lender in the United States. And I say that because we're lean and mean, but we're also a very scrappy company. And that means you have the opportunity to build something. And for me, that's a super important piece because being able to have your thumbprint on something that has the ability to really change the trajectory of where the industry is and how clients are handled in this industry is important to me.
Yeah. Yeah, you bring up kind of the ability to be scrappy and to roll up your sleeves, and it's something that we've talked about with leaders here on the show several times. So, as somebody who's been a sales pro, kind of on the front lines selling for many years, as well as a leader, and I've gotten to see it firsthand. You digging in with people on the phone and critiquing and coaching. How do you look at that as a leader, as a sales leader, particularly of balancing when to jump in and when to let people kind of be themselves, if you will, or kind of go their own style when they're in sales, whether that's with partner agents or with customers?
Well, I think, everybody first, from a leadership standpoint, we are the ones that dictate how things go. And what I mean by that is with great expectations, coaching, training takes time. And if I can't do it, it's very hard for somebody else to do it. So being able to relate to others first and foremost, I think is important. But the other piece is allowing people to fall. You can't do everything for someone. Just like, when I was a young child, my mom taught me how to ride a bike. Well, guess what? I'm still riding a bike today, and she's not here like physically like in my house with me. She lives down the street, but she's not holding on the back of my bike every time I ride a bike. And at some point in time, you got to fall and you got to scrape your knees and scrape your elbows, and you have to learn from those mistakes. And that's one of the things that I think is extremely important in any business is teaching people how to succeed by failing and learning from those lessons.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think, one of the advantages in a lot of ways of being in a centralized environment is that you can get that real-time coaching faster. So it's not like to use your analogy, you fall off a bike, and then a week later someone says, "Hey, you should have done it this way." Like you're able to be with people in nearly real time, sitting with them and coaching them up, giving them the tips on, hey, you could have done it this way. And so anything you would add to that as far as how to give real-time coaching, or how to the tools that you use to do that?
Well, yes, I think being on the floor, I think there's a lot of folks that like to listen. There's meetings that have to occur inside of an office, but one of the things that I believe is I like to sit with our loan officers, our loan consultants, on our team, being able to listen real time, being able to see what's happening, and then also digging into reports. You talked about like rolling up the sleeves. I go in almost every single day and I'm looking manually and counting things manually using good old Excel, which is great, but trying to find the little inches and the opportunities, listening to phone calls, because if you're close to what's happening, you can understand how to coach people, because everybody learns differently, audio, visual, kinesthetic. You also have to get down on somebody's level and being able to have that communication piece with them. So I think those are all important, being very, very close to what's happening on your sales floor.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can attest to that, and kind of watching you lead over the last several weeks of just being on the floor and with people. I can see it from my vantage point, and it's powerful, and the salespeople feel that and appreciate it as well. So um, it's been really awesome. So the other thing, the thing that you can't see maybe as much, and I wanted to bring out for our audience here is, we work with, in the purchase environment, real estate agents. And they're not as local. And that's kind of what our retail teams and JV teams can specialize in, is that they're side by side with a lot of real estate agents, and they can take them out to lunch, and they can press the flesh and talk about the kids and all these kind of things. When we're centralized, we've got to find ways to build relationships and build trust and confidence. How do you think about that, as somebody who's run centralized purchase teams for a very long time? How do we approach that? How can people do that over a distance?
So it starts with communication. There's honesty, education, and trust. And I say that because it all starts with communication. Does not matter if you're a real estate agent, an attorney, you're married, significant other, everything starts and ends with communication. And where communication fails is where problems begin. And I believe you have to meet people where they are. And what I mean by that is, listen, yeah, we don't have the ability of being able to shake real estate agents' hands, and to your point, like retail. But what we can do is we can pick up the phone when we call a real estate agent and introduce ourselves at pre-qualification. We can send them a thank you card when they close. We can keep them updated on how things are going. We can give them insights and information to the products that Newrez offers that their local person might not offer. There's so many things that we can do, and by educating our real estate agents of the products that we have, creating a great level of communication, we do two things. One, we show that we're trustworthy and that we're honest individuals just trying to do right by the clients. And I think that's really where it begins and ends, in my opinion. If you're not calling, you're not sending thank you cards, and you're just hoping, literally hoping that things are going to happen, it won't happen in this industry. You have to go out and make things happen.
Yeah, yeah. I think, from my perspective, in seeing and having the opportunity, seeing great salespeople, and then the opportunity to read a lot of customer surveys, it feels like there's two dynamics that are universal, whether it's centralized or remote. One is delivering an amazing experience, and you and I have talked about what that feels like when you're reading a survey. You can feel the customer's sentiment, that they knew that loan consultant cared about them more than kind of as the next commission, but as a real person and as a friend in a lot of levels. Like, there's a real connection that was built. And so I think, everybody can challenge themselves to, what more could I do to make this a memorable experience, to make it what it is, which is something that's, not often in a person's life do they go through this opportunity to own a home, refinance a home, whatever. I mean, it's not that often. And so there really is an opportunity to be different, to be better. And as it relates to real estate agents, I had the opportunity several months ago to talk to one of our top broker partners who's remote in this same way. And he had an extraordinary kind of acceleration in making relationships with real estate agents remotely. And he did it through value of, just like you said, the education piece, he was creating custom kind of messages for the real estate agent partners and just delivering things without the expectation necessarily that anything might even come back from it. But people can sense that if you're invested in them and invested in the relationship, there's really something powerful there in earning that trust and getting the first shot, and then you got to deliver, obviously.
Well, there's this authentic piece that comes with it as well. Like, I might not be able to ever meet you physically because you live in California. And if I know still about your kids as a real estate agent, and I know that, Johnny has soccer and Sally's got, lacrosse, I can communicate those things and I can relate. I've got, 4 boys, and I can talk about these things, and I can talk about my wife, and I can talk about my family. And understanding the dynamics of creating a relationship with a real estate agent, they're all fighting for an inch and they want to close every single deal. So creating that trust, having that education and that communication line definitely matters.
Yeah, no doubt. Speaking of kind of relationships and making an impact, one of the things that I've been super passionate about and Newrez is really passionate about is our friends and family and team member loan program. And, I know it's something you've spent time with as well. So just first of all, why does it matter to us? Why, from your perspective, why are we spending so much time on friends and family and team member loans? And, what are your expectations for how we can grow that and get people to trust us more over time?
Well, I think when you think of friends and family, you think of when you work at an organization, which is the pride, the sense of pride that you have to refer your friends and family. Because if you can't refer your friends and family, you might not have the level of pride of the organization in which you work for. So there's a level of pride that comes with it. I think with referring to the organization or friends or family or doing a loan, there's stability, right? You're creating stability inside of the organization. You're creating loyalty to the organization, and you're showing a level of care and dedication as well. And when I think of friends and you think of like all the people that we have, this thing right here, this cell phone, you got hundreds of contacts. Many people are on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or some type of social media. They've got followers and they've got acquaintances, which means they have some level of sphere of influence. I think of it as more of a challenge that can we get every single person inside of our organization to refer one single person, a friend or a family member, to do a refinance, a purchase, a HELoan, or some type of financing with us, because everybody knows somebody looking to purchase a home. Everybody knows somebody that owns a home that probably, unfortunately, right now has increased their credit card debt. And listen, most people don't talk about their debt. Most people don't talk about their finances with friends or family member. But throwing out that olive branch and saying, listen, I don't know if you know this, but I work at Newrez, and we have a bunch of different products for a lot of different clients. And listen, I don't know what your situation is, but I'm finding a lot of times that people need a little extra savings. Call one of our folks here at Newrez, give them our number, and give them the opportunity. You don't have to do much. It's just a referral. And by doing that, yes, it might be and seem uncomfortable. That person's going to thank you because you're going to put them into a better position, or they're going to know that they're in a good position, and there's nothing that can be done at that point in time. So it doesn't hurt to help and ask.
That's right. Yeah, and I look at it as one, like you say, we want to serve. We want our team members to be proud of Newrez, proud of the experience, confident in what it's gonna do for their loved ones. We also want them to understand it. We want all of us to have actually been through the experience or had a loved one go through, and we can learn so much from it. As you know, George, I mean, somebody goes through and, if my brother goes through the experience and tells me it was great, I wish it would have been more clear right here. You can bet I'm going to bring that back and say, hey guys, we could be better right here. What are we doing about this part of the experience? And so it really is an opportunity for all of us to participate in a really direct, hands-on way in making Newrez the best we possibly can be. So I really encourage everybody to, as you say, make it a mission to refer at least one person over the next several months because we're all going to get better from it. We're going to deliver great value to your loved one, and we're going to learn from it and get better.
That's exactly right.
Yep. Um, Thinking about the market, George, I mean, every day we've kind of been in it now for a couple years of just um, elevated rate environment to where we were at least a few years ago. And people can focus on that and get stuck in the mud on it. But I know that you are not, your team is not, we're focused on the opportunity and what we can control. How are you kind of coaching and talking your team through making the most of every single day, the opportunities that are there?
So when I think of the word tough market, I actually think of it's a different market. I don't think it's a market in which when you look back and you're staying in an industry long term, there's cycles. And you think about 2007, 2008, I think that was significantly tougher, right? In those words, it was just different. And being a business in something that is so coveted, owning a home, buying a home, refinancing a home is very sensitive to a lot of people. But I think one of the most important things that anybody can do in this industry, first and foremost, conversion of the clients cures almost everything. And what I mean by that is education to the borrower, creating relationships, which ends up creating trust. And there's this buzz around AI. AI will not replace loan officers unless a loan officer wants to be replaced by AI, because you cannot ever change the human interaction that is created in a bond between two people when it's done right. When done wrong, absolutely, you can have a little chatbot take over. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. In my opinion, I think we're creating and fortifying the sales loan officers in the industry even better than ever before, because their skills are being sharpened and they're getting better every single day.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I hadn't really thought of it that way, George. Of this market, it's almost like the perfect market to sharpen your skills, opposed to AI, if you will, or maybe complementary, in the sense that this isn't in large part a rate and term kind of environment. These are the loans that are emotionally connective to people. It's buying a home, which is so personal. It's, consolidating debt and or changing you've got life situations that are coming up and you have to address it. And that's where people are really emotionally connected, like you say, and need a loan consultant to walk them through, to provide options, to do loan structuring that's uniquely tailored to them. It's an opportunity to stand out and kind of refine what it means to be a next gen loan officer, if you will.
Yeah, that's right. I think about measuring twice and cutting once, right? Right now, you have to slow down because the volumes aren't probably where everybody wants them to be, but it's an opportunity to get really, really good at what you do and being able to then speed up to the scale when, not if, when the market changes and when the interest rates do make some changes, which makes things a lot faster. So you've got to have this ability to run at a good pace and do it really, really well.
Yeah. As a sales leader, George, we got to run, as you say, and we got to know where we're running to. And I know that you're a leader who sets goals, measures to them, informs the team of what they are. So we've got alignment. So talk a little bit about how you set goals, how you think about them, how you communicate them, and maybe even if you're willing to share, what are the 2025 goals for George Milian and team?
So it's been a month. I can't tell you if I've got all the goals handled yet. But what I can tell you is communication, visibility, transparency, and accountability is how you hit goals. Not in that way, and not in that like direct order, but you do have to communicate and set expectations of what the goals are. You do have to have a vision of where you're going, and you have to be able to hold people accountable, because I can't expect somebody to do something or for us to achieve some level of goal if there's no vision, I don't communicate it, I don't have expectations, which means then I can't hold somebody accountable. Because if I try to hold somebody accountable without communicating it, without having a vision and having some level of transparency, the challenge is people are going to think I'm absolutely nuts. I might be a little bit, but that's a whole different conversation. We're not
It'll
talking.
confirm it.
We're not talking about that. But what we are talking about is setting realistic but stretchable goals. And I think I've been using this this human being. His name's Roger Bannister. Roger Bannister, many, many, many years ago, if you don't know who he is, ran a 4-minute mile after people said it could never, ever be done. Well, he did it. Forget the year. I think it was 1955, if my memory serves me correctly. And since then, 1,755 people up until June of 22 actually have run a 4-minute mile. Somebody actually has run a 3-minute and 43-second mile. I want you to think about that for just a second. So you have to set goals that are big, hairy, audacious goals, right? But you also have to understand who that goal is for, because goals are tailored to the individual. And when you do it the right way, it should stretch somebody. It should challenge them. It shouldn't be a goal where like they look at it and they're like, there's no chance I can ever do this, because all you're doing is taking them out of the game. So I'm trying to set goals that are scalable, large enough. I believe we will be able to double currently without any additional lead flow, just simply having great conversations, working on our sales process, converting at a higher level, doing sales fundamentals. We will be able to double production by the end of the year with the current group that we have. And then as we add on loan consultants and as we look to scale and grow exponentially, we should be doing 3, 4, 5x inside of the next 12 to 18 months. I think that those are not big, hairy, audacious goals. I think those are realistic goals because of the things that we're doing inside of Newrez, the things that we're doing inside of the sales org.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I agree with you 100% about the potential of our team to double production in this environment with all the things that we're doing in your leadership. So that's exciting. And the other thing I was going to say is just related to the Roger Bannister story. I think it's another truism of sales leadership and inspiring people. That it's so important to post what's going on, rankings, I mean, for lack of a better word, because so often people can get in their head and think that, I can't succeed right now because of the market, or I can't succeed because of the technology, or whatever reasons that people get in their head. And yet somehow there's always multiple people that are way out in front with the same tools, the same products, the same 24 hours in a day. They're finding a way. And so it just kind of removes that in a way that I think allows people to look in the mirror and say, you know what, I can do this. Everybody is endowed with unique gifts and opportunities to make the most of it, and we can do this. And so I just think it's something that sales leaders need to always find a way to highlight who's doing great, and then, as you know, share how that's doing so that people can learn from each other and the best practices.
Yeah, you also add the piece of like a leader that I worked with many years ago. He would say the lies that we tell ourselves. Like, what are the lies that we're telling ourselves? Are like the leads aren't good? No. Are we just not as good as we think we are? And I think that's like a huge piece. And it doesn't matter if you're a mortgage. It doesn't matter what you do. You're lying to yourself if you say you gave it everything you got, because it is rare when you see somebody that is not performing, that is doing all of the right actions. That's just like, you show me somebody that does everything, no matter what industry it is. They call, they text, they email, they follow up, they have a proper sales script, they present right, they close and ask for the business, they acknowledge, respond, pivot, they understand, is it a question, concern, objection, or are they getting closed off the phone? Do they have a sales, or it doesn't matter. Because if you're not doing all of the right things and you're missing it just by an inch, well, you're probably missing it by a mile. And the best people, no matter where they're at, what they do, they have a process. It's a repeatable process, and it works over and over and over again.
Yeah, that and if it starts to not work, you see people who are on top and they start to slip a little bit, the best of them, well, that then they dive in and they adjust. They don't just keep running the same play every time. If it's not working as well, then they'll dive in and go figure it out and talk to other smart people, other successful people, and do even better. So,
But they
like you
also
say, yeah, go ahead.
But they also have a coach, Dave.
Yeah,
If you think about the best, and I use this often, I think this is, again, just a great analogy for anybody. The best performers in the world, doesn't matter if they're a sports athlete or a singer. If you think about like some of the top singers in the world, they perform and choreograph and rehearse for tens and 20 and 30 hours before they ever get on stage. The day before their concert, they're there 3 days before, usually, sometimes 4. They're walking the stage, they're practicing their moves, they're singing and getting their vocal cords warmed up. Before the night of the show, they're doing the exact same thing. They have coaches. And there's so many people who are like, oh, I don't need to be coached. I'm good. No, everybody needs a coach. Everybody needs somebody challenging them to make them better and pushing them to the next limit. Nobody is perfect.
that's right. That's right. And to that point, this is just I love where this is going. You've worked with literally hundreds of loan officers over your career, in addition to being a successful one yourself. Like, there's lots of different ways to be successful. There's lots of different scripts and coaches and all these kind of things. But as you look back on all these loan officers, all the team members that you've had, how, what are the themes? What are the top few things that you see that all of the top performers share that separate them from everybody else consistently over time?
That's a that's a loaded one, because there's probably way more than time allows. However, care for the people that they interact with. They have a deep level of care. They really love what they do. Um, they have a discipline inside and outside of the office because they understand you can't be somebody outside of the office and then be somebody completely different inside of the office. Going back to what we just talked about, they have the same process over and over again. They understand that, like, the way in which I answer the phone, the way in which I handle certain things, they do it every single time. And then if things aren't working, they will deviate a little bit. They're coachable. They're a forever learner, yet they are a risk taker. They're not willing to challenge themselves in different ways. They leverage social media. They're open 24/7. They're not like, hey, I'm done. Like, great professionals are never what I consider on vacation. They're always doing something, keeping their business moving forward. And then they have a deep product knowledge. They understand the products in which they offer. They're an expert at what they do. They're not just, willy-nilly. And I think those are, like, when I distill it down, and I probably could come up with 20 or 30 more, but hopefully that helps for anybody out there.
Yeah, it does. It also, I love what you said about, being the same person in the office that you are out of the office, as far as just the discipline, the way you approach it. And you and I both had a leader in the past who would famously at least tell me that he didn't believe in balance in life, because it all should be, kind of the same. It's all, who you are and what you're passionate about and how you approach life. And, whether that's in the office or, walking the dog or whatever, like, you kind of do it all the same. And I just, that really stuck with me over time. And I think that's true. If you look at life positively and you want to be the best and you want to support people, that doesn't, turn on and off when you walk in the door. That's a way of living and a way of viewing the world.
That's right. You have to be authentic, and that word is, I think, thrown around not the right way more times than not. Listen, I am who I am, and you get me, and if you like me, great, and if you don't, that's okay. You can't be liked by everybody, because if you're liked by everybody, you're probably doing something wrong too. Except you, Dave. Everybody likes you.
Yes,
You're just a great guy.
right. Yeah. Um, well, let's on that note, let's change to something else. On the purchase, you know, that's where we've got you coming in to really help us advance the ball. And we know that, look, loans are loans, but purchase and refi are a different animal. Purchase generally has a longer sales cycle, you know, because you're getting folks who hopefully you're able to help them earlier in the process and connect them with realtor agents that we have a lot of confidence in that are great partners. So it's longer. And, you know, we've talked about communication, but is there anything else that stands out to you as being differentiated from purchase and refi, and how do you manage that longer sales cycle?
So the loan officer, in my opinion, for a lot of clients is going to have to be the quarterback. They have to quarterback the deal more. They have to help create excitement to buying the home. Again, this is controversial. I think a loan officer on a Thursday or Friday sending a listing to a client saying, "Hey, have you seen this home? I know you were out looking at homes. I just saw this home. I don't know if it, because my job is to get what their goals are. I need to understand how many kids you have and how close you need to go to work. And because I'm pre-approving you, I'm pre-qualifying you. I need to understand emotionally why you're buying a home. And if I can help out in any way, great. The real estate agent's still going to send you their MLS listings, but my job is to continue to keep that excitement driving as well. And I think by quarterbacking, it changes the dynamic that we're two people, like it's a real estate agent and a loan officer. No, we all have one goal, and that goal is to help that client purchase a home sooner rather than later, because there's a reason why they're doing it. They're not just waking up one day and saying, "I just want to buy a house. I want to spend a bunch of money and I want to pay." Like, no, there's a real reason, emotional reason behind it. So I think that's an important piece.
That's right. And I think, you know, we hear this in our customer surveys, you know, that people want to know you're their guy or you're their gal. Like they don't want to feel like they're getting passed around, or you call this person if you want an update on this, or go to this portal if you want that. Those are all good things to have, but ultimately I believe, and again, I read this a lot in our customer surveys, is just people want to know that the loan consultant, ideally at Newrez, is the person who, if I need something, I can call them and they will take care of it, and they will get me an answer. If they don't know it off the top of their head, they will get me an answer, and I have confidence in this person to get me to the finish line and into my home.
Absolutely. I was just thinking, like, the other piece of this, is thank you text messages, thank you cards to people, because it is a purchase cycle. The little things matter, and thanking somebody, the pleases and thank yous, goes a long way with changing how somebody does and interacts with you. In the politeness, I think we sometimes expect people to thank us. In fact, we should be thanking them for allowing us the opportunity to help them out with the biggest purchase and transaction of their lives.
I agree. And I'll just say, you know, as an editorial, the thank you note, I think, is one of the most underrated tools of a loan consultant or any salesperson. I mean, I'm a note writer, and I continue to be amazed at what an impact that makes on people and the kind of response. I think, you know, in a world where it's so easy to just, even if you're thinking about it, just to type thanks and send an email. Yes, that is nice. That is good to do. But to take the time to write something, and for people to actually get something that's not junk mail in their email box, you know, I think that is a huge tool for loan consultants and for all of us to kind of be thinking about and making connection with people and showing that we really care.
Yeah.
Switching gears, we're on the home stretch now, George. So I just want to talk
All
to
right,
you.
I'll stretch.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get it out. Stretching on leadership. So, you know, you've had the opportunity to grow as a leader, to impact people, probably make mistakes. I know I certainly have. So when you look back at your career and your development as a leader, what's the most important change that you've made in your leadership style, or lesson that you've learned?
55,000 mistakes. Boy, oh boy. I joke, but I say 3.5 to 4 mistakes a day, right? Since I've been alive. And then, when you become a leader, you're probably double or triple that number every single day, because if you're a real people person and you're a learner, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And I could tell you some of the most influential mistakes that I made, the coachings that I've had. Yet again, we'd be here for a long time. But one of the things that I've done is really put myself in the person's shoes, because I can never assume that they know something, number one. Number two, I am not them and they are not me. And I sit back and I really think, how will they interpret this message? Will it make them react and elicit the emotions or not? And I will rehearse how I'm going to communicate something in my head. Sometimes I'll do it on my phone and I'll video myself. If it's an interaction like this, if I have to coach somebody via video, I'm going to take my cell phone out. I'm going to video it. I'm going to see, I'm going to watch myself, because I need to make sure whatever message I'm coaching somebody on, that it lands and is delivered and it has the impact that I want it to. If not, then why am I even speaking? Because if I'm just calling and having a conversation to light somebody up or to make them feel bad, that's not the intended outcome. You've got to be able to, you got to be very fluid in the way in which you communicate to get the right results. So
That's
fear does not work. It does temporarily. You can light somebody up and yell at somebody. Temporarily, you will get the results, but over time, more times than not, it is not sustainable.
That's right. Yeah, I think I know you are so right about slowing down to think about how the message is going to be received on the other end of that, as a leader. And I think, when I look at one of the bigger mistakes I made in my leadership career, it's because I was caught up in doing 100 things, with all the best intentions of delivering the max value and being a good leader and all these things. But I didn't take the time to think about what I was doing and how that was going to be received by the other person, and how they might think about that 3 years from now, 5 years from now. I had a mentor who I was able to afterwards kind of coach me up on it and say, look, this is how you need to think about that in the future. And I've really taken that to heart. And I think about it all the time, of just how those kind of, bringing it full circle, having the coaching on these, and taking the time to think about pre-call, or pre-interaction, but also afterwards, how did it go? How could I have made it better? And just getting a little bit better every day.
That's right.
Yeah. So on that note, George, you've had great leaders over your career. You don't have to name that person if you don't want here, but who is the best leader you've ever worked with? If you think about that person, and why? What makes them stand out in a I'm sure a list of great leaders.
If I was to put one, I'd be lying. I'm an oddball. And what I mean by that is I've had 30 plus leaders in, 19 years. So I'm a believer in doing what you say and having no real hidden agenda behind it. And I've definitely had way more great leaders than bad. And for me, every single leader when I sit back has made me a better leader, father, husband, because of the group that I like as I think through. And I could tell you a story on every single leader that I had in my career, the good ones and the very few bad ones. And I learned what not to do from the bad, and I learned what to do with the good. And I would be doing a disservice if I said one person. If I was to, in no specific order, Jay Farner, Joel Gurman, Scott Marks, Tim Berkmeyer, Stephen Luigi Piazza, Tim Swank, Mike Fliss, Matt Stouffer, and then here's two that most people wouldn't think: my wife and my kids, because my wife leads me, my son leads me, my stepboys lead me. They make me better. And I could tell you a story on every single one of those people within 3 seconds of something that they did to change who I am and how I lead people, because they took the time to actually coach me. and to actually have a vested interest in caring for me. And I think that's where people learn and grow, is when somebody takes a vested interest to help you. Um, I would not be who I am without those. And I can now,
Yeah.
the cool thing is I can now say you too. You've taken a vested interest in me too, so like
It's true.
it's reciprocal.
Yeah. I love the fact that you brought your family into this, just, kind of given the conversation we had about total alignment, because I think that's so true. The things that I want to do well as a leader at Newrez, I want to do well as a father and a husband. And I certainly get a lot of feedback at home about where I'm falling short or where I'm doing well. And so it's all useful as it comes through. The other thing I would say in your list of leaders, SLP, Stephen Luigi, he was somebody that came up at our Newrez Leadership Conference, believe it or not. Another person from our past had kind of brought him up, and why he was so special. And, what stood out about him was just the level of connection and interest, how invested he became in not just his team members, but, I can share that with him. I lived, 1,000 miles away or whatever, and he probably only spent in total 2 hours with me, and yet he would leave me a voicemail on my birthday. He would, seek me out if I was in the office when I was there. And so it's just, you see people who make that kind of an impact, and it's beyond leadership. It's like a personal kind of thing, and you say to yourself, I can be a better person. And sometimes leadership is just about that, helping us see there's an elevated state that we can go as professionals, but also just as people.
You don't see that anymore. I mean, I know a few people that still do it, but a text message or a call every single birthday and anniversary, knowing people's wives and children's names and knowing about them is that real relationship. It's not like, hey, how's your wife? No, it's, hey, how is, that's the real connection. There's a level, and then you got to go another level, and then you got to go another level, and then you got to go eat like 50 feet below the surface. And that's where you start to really make impact, is the care and the care.
Yeah.
That's the only real word behind it, is the care.
Yeah. And like I said, the authenticity word, you can't fake it.
No.
You can't fake care. Okay. So George, you've been with us now just over a month. There's always a learning curve.
Today, 1 month.
That's right. Congratulations. What would you say? We try to set things up for folks, obviously, to onboard quickly, to meet, I want to say the right people, but the people who can facilitate their success in the most positive way. But 30 days in, what would you say to somebody who's about to join Newrez or thinking about it? What should they expect, and how can they make the most of it?
Well, I may, again, watch, listen, learn, ask a lot of questions. I don't assume I know everything. I know a few things, but I don't know everything. So I like to ask questions. Why do we do things this way? Is this the way in which it's intended to do? You and I were talking about this yesterday in regards to something, like just asking questions. Is that the intended outcome? And if so, why? And for somebody thinking about, their next step in their career, it's just going in and meeting people. Dave, you helped out a ton, because you set up meetings for me to interact with other individuals so I could get a lay of the land. And just, if you're new here, ask your leader to set up some meetings with other people so you can learn and get their experiences. I'm open. If somebody wants to, you're internally and say, hey, I want to meet you, George, and cool, send me an IM. Let's connect, and let's exchange experiences. Let's help grow the organization and for the better. That's what I would do.
Yeah. And one of the things I'm so excited about Newrez is that we have people who've been here for 30 years through M&A and whatnot. So they've got this deep kind of experience of the history of the company and how things came to be the way they are, as well as exciting new leaders like yourself who are here and bring in something totally different for the perspective. And we just have a culture and a mindset here at Newrez of absorbing all of it and just we're going to get better from every voice that's part of it. And so I think, people coming in, I totally agree with you. Make sure to connect with people all around you for sure, but also, extend that out to other areas because they're going to have different ways of looking at where we're going, different ways to connect, different information sources, and all of it is so important to us achieving our potential.
For sure.
Yep. All right. So the other thing, George, when we talk about, you've been here a month and in that short month, you've already kind of identified, hey, we need to move faster in growing. We need to do better in building our team. And so, we're hiring aggressively. And I'll just keep it to the sales team here. As you're looking for new A players for our sales team, what's the profile you're looking for? Who should be thinking about Newrez Purchase DTC?
I think, it goes back to one of the questions you asked me earlier. It's care, desire to be coached, somebody that is, able to take feedback, somebody that wants to win, somebody that wants to grow inside of their career. This isn't just like, hey, I just want to be a loan consultant. No, we need future leaders. We are thinking about this at a much larger scale, people that are willing to take risks, people that are willing to work extremely hard and to be able to challenge the status quo. And what I mean by that is challenge what we do. Because if everybody just comes in and is like, all right, this is the way, then we just keep doing what we do. And, that's not going to get you any better. There's an old saying of what got you here isn't going to get you there. And we can't just keep thinking the same way. We have to be open to new ideas. And that's what we need. We need people to speak up, that have a voice, to be bold, to be confident. And that's how we will win.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think, that is what we need is everybody to be invested and passionate about what we're doing for all the right reasons, for the loan consultant's sake of, hey, I want to be the best because I want to win, as you say, I want to maximize my opportunity for my family, but I also want to be part of an organization that's growing and the best at what they do. So I'm proud of it every day. I want to make an impact in people's lives. And, one of the things I tell people as far as what we're looking for, I want people who are actually thinking about this outside of the office. Like they're, running the game film in their mind and thinking, what could have been better today? What could I have done better? How could this process work better to create a better experience? And then they're coming back and telling us,
Correct.
telling me, telling you, telling whoever will listen, hey, this is what I think it should be. And then there's that interplay of, okay, well, how can we do this in the short term? How might it look in the long term? But, that's part of the most exciting thing in being part of an organization that's growing and committed to being the best is that you can have a voice in it. And so I agree with you 1,000%. We need people who want to do that.
Awesome.
Well, man, this has been great. I don't want to leave though without asking you, is there anything that we should have talked about? Anything you want to share with, either our Newrez team members or our partners or people who might be thinking about Newrez? What are the parting words here from George Milian?
We're going to be growing, and we're going to be growing fast and big. And this is a different business than what a lot of folks out in the industry are doing. And we need great people. We need A players. And I will tell you, I'm excited for what is to come inside of the business, not just the group that I get to lead, but inside of this whole organization, because there's going to be opportunities as we grow. You and I keep talking about it. And I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, George, for being with us today. Everybody, we'll see you again on the next edition of Newrez Voices. See you.